Good morning class. Today we are going to study about aneroid barometer. Okay, in the last class we discussed about mercury barometer, how mercury with the pressure of air it rises up, and what was the accurate measurement? That was 76 centimeter, and it was measured with which unit? Millibars. Okay, so today we are going to study about aneroid barometer. Okay, this is the diagram over here. It is well given in your book itself. Okay, so let me explain you some of the parts of barometer. Here is the scale of barometer. Here is the chain. As you can see, everything is connected. This is spring, this J-shaped rod, and the entire thing. Here is an airtight box. Here it is written, it is partial vacuum. Partial vacuum means it is not completely vacuum. Okay, half vacuum, half it is not. Now, here is the air pressure. Okay, air pressure is providing its strength. It is exerting its pressure towards downward side. Okay, and what will happen when the air pressure will press this airtight box downwards? What will happen? It will, it will pull itself down. As it will pull itself down, the chain which is connected over here will move to and fro motion, up and down motion. Just because of this, what will happen? This arrow, if you people are seeing, okay, this particular arrow will move to and fro, to and fro. If here it is starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. How we will see it? It is very simple. What will happen as the air pressure will high? What will happen? This arrow will move this side, and this particular thing will first it has to go down, then it has to go up, then it will move right and left, right and left. So this is how our aneroid barometer works. There are certain important information given in the book, so let's go and read it and let's see what it is given. Okay, starting with aneroid barometer. Since mercury barometer is a large and not portable as aneroid barometer is used, advantages of using aneroid barometer. Now here is the word written, not portable. Portable means not long lasting, not durable. Okay, it is not very long lasting, it is not very durable. So aneroid barometer is having certain advantage as comparison to the mercury barometer. What are the advantages? Let's read it out. It has no mercury column and it is very easy to handle. Of course, mercury is also quite a poisonous thing. Okay, it is a poisonous metal also. If it comes in contact with our skin, it gives us a serious kind of disease. Okay, then it has a metal box which is partially evacuated. This metal box, here it is written partial vacuum, means half it is filled, half it is not. Then the box is very sensitive to variations in air pressure. It expands when the pressure is low. Now here the words carefully, it is written over here, it expands when the pressure is low and gets compressed when the pressure is high. Here it is written pressure is low, expands when pressure is low. Expands when pressure is low. Okay, and what it is written? Compressed when pressure is high. Compressed when pressure is high. If you remember what I have told you regarding the connection of temperature and pressure, if you people remember, I wrote down some low pressure, high temperature, high pressure, low temperature. Now here it is what given? Expand when pressure is low. If pressure is low, means the temperature is high. I have also explained that gases expand when it is gaining some temperature, means it is expanding when it is getting heated. So expands when pressure is low, means here temperature will be high. That is the thing. And it is written compressed when pressure is high, means here temperature will be what? It will be low. So here comes the connection. Low pressure, high temperature, means low pressure, high temperature. Pressure is low, temperature will be high. Pressure is high, temperature will be low. This is the thing which I told you long time ago, that if you are able to remember this particular thing, you just mug it up. You people can memorize it like a mathematical formula, okay, to solve every question. But here you will not get equations to solve, you will get theories to understand, explanations to understand. So this particular portion becomes very important in order to understand the entire thing related to air pressure. Okay, only two things we need to remember what it is. Wherever the pressure is low, temperature will be always high, and wherever the pressure is always high, the temperature will be always low, vice versa. Okay, that is the thing which you need to learn, remember and memorize. Okay, now what else is given? Let's read it. The box is connected to a pointer which moves over the scale to indicate the atmospheric pressure. The pointer which it is talking about is this particular thing. Writing down over here, pointer. Okay, now what else is given? A barograph is used to monitor pressure. The scale which you are seeing over here, I am writing down over here scale. It is known as what? Barograph. Barograph. This is all about our aneroid barometer. It's very simple. It is very easy. But what you need to remember is little bit much more about mercury barometer. Okay, it is having certain calculations. 113 millibar is equal to 76 centimeter. That's the equation which we studied in the previous class. Okay, now we are going to study something about humidity. Okay, now what we are going to study? Humidity. As you people know what we discussed regarding humidity. What is humidity? Humidity is the amount of water vapor or the amount of water present in an atmosphere. Okay, it is the total amount of water which is present in the atmosphere. Now here what we are going to study about humidity, that how it is recorded. Okay, so let me write down over here. First of all, we are studying now what? Humidity. Okay, humidity. Now first of all, let's read out what it is given, then we will see how it is recorded. Okay, regarding humidity, I told you various things, two main things about absolute humidity and relative humidity. What was absolute humidity? Absolute humidity was the total amount of water vapor present in an atmosphere at a given time. That was known as what? Absolute humidity. What was relative humidity? Relative humidity means the amount of water vapor that is present in the atmosphere and how much extra it can hold at a given temperature. Means what will happen if the temperature is increased. Okay, so that becomes what? Relative humidity. And how we are measuring relative humidity? In percentage. Now what about absolute humidity? Gram per cubic meter. Okay, I hope you people remember this. It was just a very quick revision. Okay, so let's read it out. Humidity is a measure of the amount of water vapor present in the air. So already we have studied. The air has a certain capacity to hold water vapor at a given temperature. We already know it. Also, this capacity increases with increase in temperature. Why? Because air is expanding. I hope you people remember, if this is one molecule of air, okay, at a normal temperature, and these are the number of water molecules which it can occupy. Okay, Now what will happen if the temperature, if a certain temperature is given to this particular air? It will expand. Okay, if we are transferring this number of molecules over here, water droplets, okay, but what about the empty space? What about the empty space? It will try to acquire more amount of water vapor. Okay, more amount of water vapor will be acquired with this empty space which is present over here. Okay, so this was all about absolute humidity and relative humidity. There are two important definitions given which we already studied earlier. Here just I am going to read it out, and your work is to memorize these two definitions because it is an important one. Okay, so what we have studied, let's revise it very quickly. Then, absolute humidity, the actual amount of water vapor present in the air which is expressed in gram per cubic meter is called absolute humidity. Relative humidity, it is the ratio between the actual amount of water vapor and the total amount of air it can hold at a given temperature and expressed as percentage. Okay, now what we are going to study regarding how it is measured. When the relative humidity of a air at a given temperature is 100%, okay, it is said to be saturated. What is saturated? Saturated or saturation is a condition when you can say it is not able to acquire any more molecules of water. Okay, you might have studied in chemistry. There are saturated solution, unsaturated solution and supersaturated solution. If you haven't studied, let me explain you. It is very simple thing. A glass of water, half filled, okay, 1 spoon, and this glass is half filled with sugar at a normal room temperature. Now we are swirling it, we are trying to mix it. Okay, if it is mixing, alright, then what will happen? If the sugar molecules are still there but we have not mixed it properly, what it becomes? Unsaturated. Saturated. Okay, when these sugar molecules are completely dissolved, but if we are adding the sugar molecules, okay, and it is not dissolving anymore, okay, if that is the condition, what it becomes? Saturated. Now if at the saturated solution certain temperature is given to it, and now if we are pouring some sugar cubes and now it is getting mixed, means it is the third one, that is super saturated. That is the thing. Okay, so here what we studied, that was about saturation. Okay, means it is saturated, completely 100% done, not 99, not 101, completely 100%. Now what else is given? Hence we can say that the amount of water vapor present in the air is equal to the amount of water vapor that the air can carry at a particular temperature. Means it cannot hold anymore. That is the end, that is the complete full stop. Okay, now measurement of relative humidity. The relative humidity of the atmosphere at a particular place can be measured with the help of wet and dry bulb thermometer or hygrometer. Now there is a term written, what? Hygrometer. Okay, now what is hygrometer? Hygro stands for water, okay, and meter, you know what it is? Unit of measurement. Clear? Now let's read what else is given. The relative humidity of the atmosphere at a particular place can be measured with the help of wet and dry bulb thermometer or hygrometer. Wet and dry bulb thermometer. This instrument consists of two sensitive thermometers. A dry bulb thermometer which records the actual air temperature of atmosphere, and wet bulb thermometer. Now let me demonstrate you here properly what actually it is. If you are seeing your book, there is two columns given. One it is written dry and another one it is written wet. In the middle there is F written, means Fahrenheit degree, and right and left it is given CC, means Celsius degree. Now what it is given in dry, if you are seeing, there is one simple column like this way given, okay, and it is filled with mercury. Somewhere some sort of stoppage like this way it is given. Then this is the space where it is completely filled with mercury, okay, and here it is written what? Dry C, okay, 1 1 2 1. Then the measurements like this way. Now the mercury is rising at certain point. Same thing about wet. In wet what it is happening, same thing is given but little bit more something is added. Here is the column like this manner. It is also filled with mercury. Readings are given as well, but there is one extra thing. If you are noticing, there is one U-shaped like structure over here and one ball is there marked like this, and here is a cloth dipped into water which is present over here and it becomes wet. Alright, now what happens in this? In dry bulb thermometer, when it will absorb, when it will observe, not absorb, sorry, it's observe, when it will observe humidity, what will happen? It will ultimately rise. And you know that mercury is very sensitive to temperature. It quickly reacts with it. Okay, so it will instantly rise. But when we are talking about wet bulb thermometer, you are seeing that there is a piece of cloth stuck in the water. Here, if you are reading in your book, it will be given a muslin cloth. It is completely soaked with water. Now what will happen as the air or as the surrounding, the humidity which is present over here, and how much due to evaporation this particular cloth is getting dry and how much it is getting absorbed simultaneously. Okay, how much the wick or how much that muslin cloth is drying due to evaporation and how much it is absorbing the water which is kept here simultaneously. दोनों चीजें एक साथ होती हैं, evaporation भी और water का suction भी, right? Now in this what will happen? The amount of water it will start to absorb. Okay, first it will dry. Okay, as it will dry, sorry, first it is dipped into the water. Now the cloth is completely wet. Okay, and what is humidity? It is the measurement that how much water droplets is present in the air. Okay, when due to dry air or wet atmosphere, when this cloth will start drying itself, what will happen? The temperature will become high of this cloth and it is completely attached to the mercury. You know, it is very sensitive with temperature. What will happen? It will rise. Okay, as soon as it will get dry, it will try to absorb more and more water. Okay, and after some time, due to the action of heat, what will happen? The cloth will become dry. So at what rate this particular thing is happening, that is calculated here in wet bulb thermometer. Okay, and it is expressed in what terms? It is expressed with percentage. Okay, now let's read it out what it is given. The bulb of the wet thermometer is covered with a piece of muslin which is kept constantly moist by the wick dipping into a container of water. Cooling of wet bulb thermometer is proportional to the rate of evaporation of water from its wick. Just now I told you how much it is absorbing the water and how quickly it is getting dry due to action of dry air. That proportion is calculated in terms of percentage. That rate is calculated in terms of percentage. Now in this what is happening? The rate of evaporation is in turn dependent upon the relative humidity of the surrounding area. Means what it was said about relative humidity, the amount of water vapor which is present in the air, and if the certain temperature is given to it, how much extra moisture it can hold. That was our relative humidity. The same thing it is given in the book. So it is how the relative humidity is calculated in terms of what? Percentage. And in the last class I have already told you this particular diagram you need to draw in your notebook in the white sheet, completely well labeled diagram. Okay, and when the revision classes will start, then I will give you a quick tricks how to understand or how to memorize the diagrams with the perfect labelings. Clear? Now this was about measurement of relative humidity. Now let's see what else is given regarding this. When the air is very dry, rapid evaporation of water from the wick cools and in the wet bulb thermometer. The difference between the readings of dry and wet bulb thermometers gives an indication of humidity of air. Means it is rising very quickly because it is dry, okay, and wet, how much evaporation is happening and how much it is absorbing the water. There will be certain fluctuations, okay. So whatever fluctuations is happening, the wet bulb will be subtracted from the dry bulb thermometer, and whatever the number will come, that will be expressed in the percentage, and that becomes what our relative humidity. That becomes our what? Relative humidity. Now what else is given? Normally a large differences show in a low relative humidity and a small differences show in a high relative humidity. When the dry bulb and wet bulb readings are the same, the air has reached the saturation point, that is relative humidity is 100%, means it cannot hold any moisture extra. It is completely packed, no room for anyone else. Okay, that is the thing. Then actual value of relative humidity is obtained from standardized table. What is standardized table? Means with accurate measurement, with accurate calculations. Accurate calculations can be done if we are applying mathematics to it. That is what? Percentage. Clear? Now we are coming to the next point, the last point. Whether officers use hygrographs. Hygrographs. Now what is hygrographs? Hygro stands for water. Graph, from where we can draw scale and do the measurement. Clear? So it is a type of graph. Now what else is given? This is only the thing which is given about our relative humidity. Now we are coming towards the next point, that is rainfall. What is rainfall? It is a form of precipitation. And what is precipitation? Precipitation is a condition when cloud in an airy form condenses itself and falls down as a form of liquid or solid. Okay, so we are going to study now what? Rainfall. How it is measured? We know it, rain gauge. How it is done? What are the specific instruments to it? And what are the various steps to observe that how much rainfall has occurred? Just now we are going to study it. So let's get started. Rainfall or precipitation is always measured by an instrument called rain gauge. Important, underline it. Now, rainfall is usually expressed in centimeters or millimeters. Centimeter or millimeters. Now what else is given? If 15 millimeters rainfall is recorded in a particular day in a particular town, it means that if the rainfall of that town were allowed to collect over a plain surface, the level of rainwater over that surface will be 15 millimeters high. Generally, the rain falling over an area does not get collected, it runs off and seep into the soil or evaporates. Therefore, the amount of rainfall at a place over a particular period is measured by rain gauge. Now what it is done? Suppose today it is raining. Okay, the entire day from morning to evening, you know the weather has already forecasted in our television, and we know that next 3 days there will be a continuous and very heavy rainfall. Now you want to know how we can measure it. Let's do a small experiment. Okay, if you are seeing here figure 3.8, there is one funnel shaped collecting vessel and cylinder, and there is one another thing that is measuring jar. Now what is needed to be done? Let me show you. So here is the cylinder, okay, and there is one funnel kept inside. Like this manner, and it is collected in an inverted jar which is kept here. It's a very rough diagram. Okay, so what is this? Funnel. Okay, and this one is what? This one is known as what? Collecting vessel. Why collecting vessel? Because here we are going to collect the amount of rainfall which will be happening. Then this particular thing is what? This particular thing is cylinder. Okay, so this is the entire collecting portion. Now the measuring portion. Measuring portion here, it is a type of very large test tube, you can say, where readings are given. How it is given over here? Here like this manner. Circular, like this, somewhat drawn like this, then here, and one straight line here. Here it is written 0, then here it is written 9 centimeters, then 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. It is a little bit, not accurate, but let's see it. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Done. Like this manner. Now what we need to do? We need to keep this particular portion, okay, this particular measuring jar. What it is? Measuring jar. Measuring jar. Now what we need to do is, when we are keeping this measuring jar into an open space where rainfall is not, either gliding with the help of a tree or a shade of the house, no, completely open space. You can call it as a park or any other open space. You need to keep this jar, and what will happen? Drop by drop rainwater is going to be collected in this particular jar. Okay, suppose it has come till this point, from 0 to here. Okay, suppose this has come to this particular point, and now what you are going to do is this particular thing, that is our measuring jar, okay, and this collecting vessel. What will happen? The rainfall will pour into this, and it will be collected into the collecting vessel. Then when the collecting vessel, the amount of now rainfall is over, now there is a certain point where this rainfall is now collected, the water is being collected. Now what will happen? Now we have to pour this into this particular measuring jar. How much level it is coming over here, that will be recorded as this much amount of rainfall has occurred. This is how we measure rainfall, with the help of what? Rain gauge. What is the measuring vessel? That is rain gauge. Now what else is given? Let's see it. Rain gauge. Rain gauge consists of a cylinder which has vessel at the bottom to collect the water and funnel on the top. The circumference of the top of the funnel is equal to that of cylinder. This is to ensure that water going through the funnel is collected in the vessel. This particular thing. Okay. Now at the end of the day, or the time for which the water is collected, the rainwater which is collected is poured in the measuring jar to find the other amount of rainwater received. Means different places. Yeah. Then the rain gauge is kept in an open level space away from the trees and building. Means it should not collide with anything. It should be free rainfall. Okay. It is generated placed 30 centimeter above the ground. Now self-recording instrument is called pulveograph. okay, where no measurement or nothing is required. If the rainfall is happening, automatically it is converting and giving us, providing us with the data that how much rainfall has occurred. It is also available for measuring rainfall. This is used to record both the amount of rainfall received and its duration on the graph paper. So this is the work of pluvograph. How much on what was the duration of rainfall and how much amount of rainfall is collected, that is also given over here. That is also being noted down in a form of what? Graphical term. Now, the rain gauge is also used to measure an amount of snowfall and hail. The snow and the hail are connected in the measuring after being melted. The depth of the snowfall can be recorded by the measuring the height of the snow collected at the various points in the area with the help of measuring rod. Then the calculating its average height. Means what is happening, if there is snowfall and hail, what will be done? It will be heated to a certain temperature, or we can keep it at a room temperature and let it allow to melt. If we are providing extra temperature, possibility is there that it will evaporate. Okay, it will start losing some of its water molecules. So at the room temperature when it is kept, then the same process is done. Okay, then the same process is done. Then precautions while using a rain gauge. The rain gauge should be kept 30 cm above the ground and it should be protected from animals. Obviously, otherwise it will be not recorded accurately if there is certain disturbance. Okay, and I missed out one point. Snow collects about 10 times as deep as water. 1 centimeter of snow is equivalent of 1 millimeter of rainfall. Means if there is 1 centimeter of snowfall is there, it is equivalent to 1 millimeter of rainfall. So the variations is there. So the variations can be calculated, it can be managed, and it can be measured, and that's how our snowfall also is measured, and that's how our rainfall is also measured. Okay, so this was all about rain gauge. Now there is one important point that we are going to discuss, that is sunshine. Now what is sunshine? Sunshine, you know, the coming insolation from sun. The sun rises always in the east and it sets in the west direction. Okay, so this is how our sunshine comes. Now what is the intensity, how it is being measured, that is what we are going to read it. First, writing down over here, that is sunshine. What it is given? The amount of sunshine a place receives depends on the season and by the position of earth in its revolution around the sun. I told you yesterday itself that there is always a motion of sun and earth as well. Somewhere the direct sun rays is getting on equator and somewhere it is directly getting on Tropic of Cancer, so as with Tropic of Capricorn. Why? Because earth tend to shift itself, okay, as it revolves around the sun. Okay, when the sun rays is directly at Tropic of Cancer, we are experiencing summer season. Okay, and when the direct rays is there in Tropic of Capricorn, we are experiencing what? Winter season. Clear? Now what else is given? Let's see it. In meteorological stations, sunshine duration is recorded by sundial. Okay, there is one instrument, alright, like this way, and there is one, you know, stick like thing. It is fixed here in the center with this inclined position so that it can be held and can be balanced, and there will be the degrees, okay, like this man. Your times will be given. Now as the sun is rising over here and it is setting, rising from east, setting on west. Now the motion of sun, like this way, okay, as it will go, a shadow will appear over here. As it is creating shadow, the shadow will, you know, obstruct in this particular dials. Like in a watch, in a clock, you can see dials. Okay, wherever it is casting its shadow means that much time is happening. Very simple, very easy. Alright, now what else is given? Sundial is a glass ball placed on a stand with a strip of paper placed behind it. The glass ball concentrates the sun rays into a paper strip which burns when the sun rays are focused on it. The number of burns on the paper shows the hours of sunshine. On the map, placing equals sunshine duration are joined by isohills. Now here, this thing what happens if we are talking about a sundial which was used during ancient time. This is for the modern period of time where the concentrated sun rays is burning the paper. The amount of burn is there, means that is the duration. Okay, it is calculating the duration of sunshine. This glass dial, the glass dial basically, it is given as a glass ball. Okay, but earlier when there was no facility like this way and people used to know, there was no clock invented, there was no time invented. Okay, so what used to happen, the direction of the sun, it used to cast a shadow here in this, and from there the sun means there, from there time was calculated. Okay, in the sundial, in the glass hour, time is calculated, means the duration of sunshine is calculated. Okay, and when this time is calculated, let me avoid your confusion, this particular instrument, it records time. Okay, an hourglass or the glass ball, which is written over here, glass ball, it records duration of sunshine. Both are different things. Clear? Now, on maps, places of equal sunshine duration are joined by isohills. Okay, what is the term? Isohills. Isohills. This is the term. Okay, now students, we are left with very small topic, that is observation of wind speed and direction. Okay, if you are seeing this, okay, first of all you need to know few things. There are certain important terms are given, that is Farrell's law and friction of obstacle, rotation of earth and pressure. From how these three elements are responsible for observation of wind speed and direction, it is quite a point of discussion. Okay, so in the last session or in the next class, we are going to discuss the observation of wind speed and direction, determining the wind direction, wind vein and rest of the everything. Okay, now here in this particular thing we read and we came across various things. Okay, how our rainfall is measured, how our relative humidity is calculated and rest of the things. Okay, now these are the very important things which is we need to learn and we need to study it. Okay, now in the next class what we are going to study, we are going to study different elements, okay, which is responsible for wind direction. Okay, so I hope this class was very informative to you people. You have learned quite a lot. In the next session we are going to discuss the last topic. Okay, I hope it was informative for you people. Thank you so much.